I'm preparing, and we're live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. Just give it a few more minutes. If you're new, please subscribe to the sort of Palace Drum Clinic Facebook site. Press like, and you'll get all the information. We also have a Palace Drumming Club as well, where you can have chats with everybody, be interactive in that kind of sense. So yeah, so all that's fantastic. So if you do that, if you're watching on replay, please tag hashtag replay, and we can still see everything that's going on. So first things first, welcome. I hope everyone's okay out there in the land of lockdown, or like slightly locked. So I think the key's slightly turning at the moment. We'll see where that's going with that. But we are special guest this evening is Mr. Ian Matthews. Thank you very much for joining us, Ian.
Hiya!
Woo! And it's like the regular members will most will notice there is a slot missing. We have Rob Bryan. Rob, say hello. Don't choke. But we also have Pete Cater usually on the panel. He's missing. If you was watching last week, then what you would most probably see is that he discussed about the whole lockdown situation, how testing clubs. So it's like sort of cabaret kind of style. So you'd be able to get social. He's actually testing that tonight. He's going around all the individual clubs to see if social distancing can happen for drummers. So he's doing a solo tour of that. So be looking on that. It'd be absolutely fantastic. So.
Has he got a time machine or something? How's he going to do that?
Well, he's like Santa Claus, isn't he? I suppose. But he'll be back. He'll be back next week.
Jesus, Pete! That old Mercedes is going to be flying up and down the M4.
He'll be back next week. So yeah. So as everyone knows, like say hello, put everything in the comments. I'd love to see everybody. If you've got a question, please put it in the comment box as well. We'll try and our best to answer everything. Or just basically just tell us that you're watching. It'll be fantastic. Yeah. Now, we always have these kind of open chats to start with, and we're coming up to that time of the year where there's a lot of people are actually getting university degrees, it's like other qualifications, A levels, and all kind of stuff. Will be coming up very shortly. And there's one thing that sort of sprung to mind. It's like a lot of people are especially in the further education, they're getting qualifications at the moment. So my basically open question to basically our guests and Rob is. What makes a qualified drummer? So you may have that piece of paper. I've got loads of letters after my name to say that I've done this, that, and that in drumming and percussion. But what actually makes a qualified drummer? So Ian, can I come to you? What in your mind does make a qualified drummer?
You're qualified if you can provide what the musicians around you, particularly the one that's rang you up to do something, to be there, if you can provide what they need. Now, I guess, you need to know your styles, because these people might ring you up with various different musical ideas or backgrounds, which there's a lot of perceived wisdom ahead of these different backgrounds. There might be somebody with more of a jazz vibe, a bit of a rock vibe, a bit of a blues vibe, funk, whatever. But you're only as qualified as far as you can actually, make the music happen at the time. Now, there is, I guess, a certain academic side, which is, you have to know the language of drumming, which is therefore, if the only way for that person is, to provide you with the language for that music is to throw you the charts, then you need to be able to deal with that as well. But the buck stops at the bandstand and at your ability to provide the moment, and that's it. The rest of it's gravy, I think. I don't know if I'm being unfair. What are you saying, Rob?
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Sorry, Matt, were you going to jump in there? But
no. Pass
your hand go across the screen as if you were.
I'll pass it down to you.
Yeah. Well, I agree with Ian completely. That is true. And having taught a little bit of BIM and various places, and I know Ian's done a lot of teaching as well, and done a lot of clinics at BIM and ACMs. He's travelled around and seen all these places. That all these keen faces are there to learn, and they all come away with their bit of paper. And you know, the minute they come out of that building after their 3 years or whatever, and they hold up that bit of paper, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to walk into a gig or a tour or take Ian's gig or my gig. It's not going to happen that way. But all of that learning is extremely important. But I know there are some characters that sometimes think that they've got that, so they can just walk into the nearest audition and bag the gig. But there's so much more to it than that. You know, it's not just having it all on a bit of paper. It's about your experience. It's about you as a human being, what you bring to that band, what you bring to that rehearsal. And obviously the playing's dead important, but if you can bring all this other stuff we spoke about before, like being on time, being prepared, you know, doing some research, getting the MP3s of the songs, all that kind of stuff is extremely important. And you need to think of that as much as saying, I'm a grade 8 drummer, or I've got a music degree and and it says I'm this sort of drummer. It doesn't really mean very much, because there's millions of people coming out of those organizations with the same qualifications. You know, and what makes Ian or me get the gig, it's not what that bit of paper says, it's what we bring to that music. So I think once you've got that, brilliant, it's a good thing to have, but you need to dig a bit deeper into your musical personality and your likes and your dislikes, because some are going to be similar to me, you and Ian tonight. We can say, oh yeah, buddy, or John Bonham or whatever, but there'll be some people, I never thought of that guy. And that could be the main thing in your playing, that inflection in your playing that gets you that gig, you know. That when you went for it, or Ian, or whichever way around we do it, you know, we didn't bring that to the table. So
I mean, I think actually, like, qualifications, academia, that's important when, for instance, in music, for instance, you know, music, if you want to pursue a line of work which is like become an educator, then the more of that, the better. You know, if you want to like become a teacher, a drum teacher, and set up a drum school, or work for a conservatoire or a university or something like that, then you need to have that lineage in your education that you can show, and that's, you know, that's one thing. But when it comes to music making, like Rob was saying, you know, it's a totally different world. You know, it's yeah, this is like trenches. You know, this there's no orthodoxy, there's no convention here. This Absolutely. Is just you know, everything you've learned about your instrument, you have to be able to react to on the moment and make that musician that you're working with, or that producer that you've been hired by, or whatever, smile, and that's it. It's a different thing.
Definitely. Just before I'm just going to say a couple of hellos, because we've got a lot of people online. Hi, Mike. Mike Tubman as well. Aaron, hello. Gaynor, she's got a question, so I'll come back to her. Hi, Pete. Hi, Martin. Glenn.
Names I recognise there, definitely.
Absolutely. Hi, Mum and Dad. They're my avid followers. So Lee, hi Lee. Neil Bullock, hi Neil. How you doing, buddy? Another great drummer there. Nick Wilgar, Richard Powell, Ben Millard, hello. Heath, Alan Thomas, Graham Boyce, there's Kevin Pitt, there's lots of watching. Mike Wilson, Guy Morley, Hugo Loudon, Matthias Anderson. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Guy. Now, coming actually back to a question. I think Gaynor basically said it, so let me come back here. It's quite an apt one, actually. Very good. She says, I'm about to sit grade 8, but I feel a world away from you. I need more confidence. Well, we all need more confidence, don't we, sometimes? I think so. I actually heard from a fantastic bass player mate of mine. He overheard someone, I can't remember who it was, so I won't say, that it's like, someone's like, he knew his son basically said, oh, I've got my grade 8 now, I don't need to learn anything else, I've done it. Now, having all these different grades and everything else, does it actually, I will come to my point of view later on, but does it actually, basically, is it that piece of paper, does that actually have a weight if you say you got grade 8 or not?
Can I say to Gaynor, the first thing, I remember when I took my grade 8, I was about 17 or something, and I think I was the first year back in those days that when the Guildhall took on the whole idea of grade 8 drum kit.
Hi Lloyd, Ryan. Right, sorry, Lloyd's just popped in.
I was on there as well. But Gaynor, you know, you smash it, go on, do it. You can do it. You've practiced hard enough. Go and smash it. You will nail it. You know, you got your set pieces. You know the answers to your questions. You know, practice your rudiments. Be ready. You know, I'm sure you'll smash the sight reading section. Just do it. But the grade 8 thing, I shit myself when I did my grade 8, and I came out the end of my grade 8 of that day swearing to myself I utterly ballsed it, and I'd not passed it. In fact, I got honours for it, which is amazing. However, that grade 8 experience, that nerves, that I don't know, the slight feeling of being slightly out of control, and really having to muster everything that I had to like literally gather everything together to make it happen. I still get that feeling today. Sometimes if I'm in a studio and I'm having to do something, or all right, you know, like when I've done some like big balls drum gigs like Glastonbury or V Festival, or some of the things, even like small gigs where only a few months ago in Bristol I played with the Jazz Defenders, and I'm sort of sight reading these like really deep jazz like pieces, you know, with all sorts of weird time signatures going on, and switches of flavor and style within the tunes, and I still get the same feeling, and it's kind of an electric feeling. It's kind of amazing, and it kind of makes you feel amazing when you've come out the other end of it. So I just want to say, grab that and go in and do it. It'll be amazing.
There we go. Great words there, really. Yeah, great words. As I say, you're wanting to do it. Go and do it. You know, so it's great. A couple of hellos. So said hello to Lloyd, another sort of great job. Matthew Devenish, just say hello. Richard Norton, hello. Tristan Long, hello Tristan over in Kings Lynn. Malcolm Phillips. Tristan. Ewan Crawford is watching. Dave Jones, this is fun.
Dave Jones.
Rob and Matt, hello.
Hey, Dave Jones.
Well, there we go. Question. Oh,
hello, Dave.
Mike has just asked a question. Apart from that, Aaron Girl said, I've talked to him before. Nice guy, great drummer. So they were.
Yeah. Hello, Aaron. How you doing?
Yeah, Gainus replied, thank you so much. Martin Ollie, hi. Hi, Malcolm. I think they have a conversation between themselves. I have a conversation between yourselves. It's actually yeah, so question to all of you. Why is the drummer always the nicest one in the band? Well, I think we can just say because we are. There we are. I don't know. I think I have this little theory of drummers. Because there's only one of us based on a gig, because you maybe get a couple of guitarists, and it's like, you know, if you get like lead singers, like maybe a couple of, do you know what I mean? So there's always maybe one or two of the other instruments. Because we're a breed onto ourselves, we're just like the main band, but we have to have that kind of, we're pumping the whole band, you know, it's just like, as Buddy Rich said, if you've got a great band, but an average drum, it's going to be an average drum band. If you've got an average band, but you've got a great drum, it's going to be a great band. You know, so we're always that, you can always find those hidden like things that a drummer sometimes do if you miss a beat, but if a guitarist basically does it.
And this is the thing. The thing is, I had a teacher. Do you remember Eddie? Rob, you must remember Eddie Clayton.
I do.
Eddie Clayton said to me, just what you're saying, by the way, I support what you're saying, is like, you know, average drummer, average band, but average bass player, average drummer, average band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get a bad bass player.
Yeah, that is true.
You're the greatest drummer on earth. You're in trouble, mate.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Yeah. So hi Ben. Hi Charlie Ashby. Hi Darren. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing where my feeling is like, and then so when you meet other drummers, we want to be sociable because we don't have that kind of. We can't sometimes talk shop. Or basically like, because we love like borrowing. I won't say pinch. We love borrowing people's idea, and when we actually give out, oh, have you seen this? I've tried this. Oh, that's good. I might try that. Do you know what I mean? We're that kind of breed, and I think that brings out the nicety within the personality. Does that make sense, guys? Would you agree? Is that reason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've always felt sometimes you know, you're a bit like a goalkeeper as well. You know, you're the last line of defence. And sometimes, you know, with a situation that, you know, it's maybe a pickup gig or something, and it's a bit wobbly or something, or it could be a session, it could be the band that you play with all the time, just maybe not on a great gig that night or whatever, but you've got that power to actually line things up. You can't change the tuning, obviously, but you can change feel and dynamic and tempo, and those three things, you know, can make people either go, oh, this is great, or they go, this is great, you know, or if they're in a pub, it makes them tap their foot or just sit there looking out the window, you know. And I like the fact that we've got that, and as drummers, we can always, you know, we're on rises, we can look out at people, and I think we've got such a good position, you know. All right, we can't put our foot up on the monitors and do all that business, but we can look and see if people are into it. We can look out and see people's faces and see their reaction. You know, if we're not on a reading gig, of course, you know, that's a different bag altogether. But you know, that kind of thing, I think is such a power. And I think we understand that, but we don't go out sort of saying like we are these great keepers of time and dynamics. We just go out and we just do it. And I said to someone the other day, we're like the golden retrievers of musicians, you know, we're just lovable and people love us for it, you know, rather than the sort of Rottweilers who might be a bit more sort of stabby. That could be the guitarist or something, you know. So that's kind of how I feel. I feel with that last line of defense, and we're quietly confident when when we're on that gig and we know what we're doing, and we can just bring that feeling that everyone just goes, yeah, this feels good.
This feels good.
Well, it pays to be really nice to the other musicians, of course, because at the end of the gig, you might want one of them or a couple of them to volunteer to help you out with that shit you got to put back in.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I think everybody knows that far too well. Hi, Kenneth, Kate Shirley, Dave Brown's watching. Hi, Dave. Hannah Delaney, the daughter of the great Eric Delaney, is watching.
I met Eric years ago, actually. Jesus, yes. That is a legend. That is a legend.
Absolutely. So, hi, Hannah. Hope you're doing well. She's basically an international hostess or something on the cruise ships.
Wow.
She speaks 7 languages. She could speak more now. I don't know. She's
wow.
Gaynor basically just replied. It was quite funny. The drummer is the organised one.
Yeah.
Have you met Rob? If he buys the PA,
I was only a little bit late. 2 mornings in a row.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's brilliant. It's like, hi Rob. Kate Shirley, hi guys. Sorry I'm a bit late to the party. Don't be sorry at all. Like I say, if you can watch this on replay, obviously afterwards. If not, it will be on YouTube 24 hours after the end. You'll find it on my YouTube. So just search for Matthew Green Drums, and it'll be on there. So that's not a problem there. But coming back to this whole kind of, I want to say, it's like that grade 8 with that piece of paper. A lot of people will, and a lot of people won't know my pathway. It's just like I've gone through, conservatoires ways and all kind of stuff, masters and like postgraduates and and all that kind of stuff, degrees. But when I came out of college, I was obviously, people saw basically what I could do. That's obviously I was getting invites to work with different orchestras, different groups, and all kind of stuff. That piece of paper for me wasn't worth anything. What actually I think is basically what that piece of paper was setting myself up for a life skill. Because so many people had the same piece of paper, but how many people are still doing a professional musician's kind of job? I don't know. I can't give you statistics, but I could give the statistics of when I was in my undergrad. Sorry, not my undergrad. My degree is that's like 5% of music colleges only went to go to a performance career. So what happened to the other 95%? But they had the same piece of paper. So what I feel it's like it was a matter of yes, that piece of paper's there. You've gone through the whole kind of deadlines. You're working towards deadlines because we have to work towards deadlines. As musicians, like there's a studio time. You've got 3 hours. You have to record this bosh. Or you have to prepare for this kind of thing. You have to get this in between. So if you're doing stuff like I have to do for the Palace Drum Clinic, we have to get proposals in for grants and all kind of stuff. It's always a deadline you work towards. That kind of institution basically sets yourself up for that. But when you basically come out, I suppose it's like learning to drive. You pass your test, then you start to learn how to actually drive properly.
Absolutely, yeah, on the job.
It all depends. Like that piece of paper, what's it worth? For me, it's a life skill. But why am I playing? Why am I a professional musician? It's because I've got the hunger for it. So I practice. I've got well known, and it's people want you to actually because they love your playing, not because you got a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, guys?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I can't think of the last audition where someone said, "Have you got a grade 8? Show me it," and they say, "You got the gig." No, of course not. No. Like we said before, that's only part of it. That just shows that you know stuff and you can, like you say, meet deadlines and you can do things. And people said, "Right, that's a tick." It shows you've got this. But after that, the rest of it is like we've all said, is learning on the job and all the other stuff that sometimes only experience can bring. And at some point, they'll probably forget they've even got that bit of paper because they're getting so much life experience talking and playing with other musicians that, yes, they've got it, but they get it in other places, I think. And I never went down that route. I'm too old. So I never went down that route. There were no drum exams when I was a kid.
No, I think Rob's on the point. I mean, I'm not sure how old Rob is, but I mean, I'm old. Are you 50?
This year. Oh my God!
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm 1 year behind you, my friend.
Oh,
There we
we
are.
look so young, though. We look so young.
I
Exactly.
moisturise well. I
Because we're
tell you.
drummers, you know. But I did my first paid gig in 1977. No, 1978.
Ooh.
And with my dad at the Globe in Wales, and just was playing after that. And you know, back in those days, going through the 80s and being exposed, even though I was going to bloody school, being exposed to the whole like, you know, function band scene and playing in the valleys in Wales and stuff, where every fixer there has at some point sacked Tom Jones. That was like a running bloody joke back in those days. And you know, you're in like, and you're 14 years old and you got like, you know, the cabaret guy coming in, and you know, before the show you got by the way, you probably got 3 sets to do and the cabaret set to do, and it's like 7 o'clock in the evening before you start playing, and he's giving out like music with coders and God knows written on it, but because he goes around up and down, you know, all the clubs, all the cabaret clubs in the country, what is Pete Caters doing tonight apparently?
Testing it out for everyone. That's what he's doing.
by sleigh, by magic sleigh. I love Pete. You know, they're super laminated. So when you're in the dressing room, you're reading coders and blah, 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 and then when you get to put it on your stand, when you've done a set or two and you've forgotten his bloody cues anyway, then you've got stage lights. You know, like the old Phoenix Nights, silver strip behind you. And then you've got some stage lights, and you realise you can't see a bloody thing because the laminate's reflecting everything, you know. Now, what my point really is the fact that back in those days there was gigs everywhere. You could, I don't know what was going on with licensing laws, but you could be 7 bloody years old and go into a smoke-filled bar and play with your old man. You know, and I've got 2 kids now, and you know, you've got to get doctor's reports and bloody permissions from the headmaster and the council for them to do something at the Bristol Hippodrome, you know. So there's all these constraints, and also because the economy and the way things have gone with recorded music being preferred DJs and piped music and whatever, the culture in this country from what it was, say, 40 years ago is a completely different place. Yeah. So nowadays, if I want to experience exactly what it's like to play a dark bolero for dancers, in some kind of sequence dance situation, I have to go somewhere and have someone tell me what that experience is, rather than experience it myself. You know, the whole thing that me and Rob have been, you know, the luxury that me and Rob had as even half-assed 14-year-old drummers, we had a whole world of music. And people ring. As soon as someone got wind that you could sit there on a stand and like hold the fucker down, then you're in.
Well, exactly.
And so we lapped up the experience. We lapped it all up. But now I don't think the world's quite the same anymore. No, I don't think. I think that's where I would, like, my daughter's going to BIM. My eldest daughter's going to BIM, and she's soaking it up. She's getting all this stuff, all this information. Although it be it like academic textbook, you know, there is no way that she could have the same experiences that me and Rob had back in the day, you know. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's true. No, you're absolutely right. It's a shame. It's a real shame.
Just to let you know, guys, Ian and Rob basically are virtually like you've had a very career starting in the same area, haven't you? That's the why it's like Ian and basically Rob talking to each other that kind of way. So they've known each other from from youth, I suppose you could say.
No, I think I met Rob fairly later on, but
later on.
From Bath, aren't you, Rob? And I'm Bristol, you know, but you know, we met through the old Duke, I think, or something.
It was, yeah. One of us was playing and drink was flowing, and it was all good.
A couple of highs. Janie Berry, hello. Joe Morris, hello.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe.
Who else besides that? Caroline Herbert. Oh, great. Kay Shirley just mentioned Ian. Great to see you. Great to see all of you, by the way. Thanks very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Every week is another pound on the waist, and it's like an inch on the hair. That's what it's all about.
I lost all mine.
Apart from Rob, it's like he's going inwards. Might you be able to come to the Palace Drum Clinic? We're out of lockdown. The answer is yes, hopefully. I'll answer that one.
That'd be great.
We were in talks actually before all that kind of stuff, so actually I can do that. Joe Morris says hi. Gaynor, just basically just following up on obviously what you said. Definitely, the grade 8 is just a self-confidence thing. The band playing is far more important. In lockdown, I've not been able to play with my own band, but I've done remote recordings with some of the lads from Jam. It has been so much fun. As I say, it's one thing I think we talked about maybe a couple of weeks ago about. I think it was it with Todd, Rob? That was basically, coming out of the lockdown. It's like
Right.
being a better musician. It's like trying to do stuff all the
Yeah.
time. So, guys, it's like, I've learned a complete new skill with all this kind of like online. If you actually sign up to the Palace Drumming Club, there's actually a poster went out this week behind the scenes, and you basically see all the wires, all the cameras, and everything else, which you don't see. You just see, this thing here. So it's new, complete skills you learn, and that kind of environment. It's brilliant to actually do. Question for you. I've got a couple of questions for Ian. So first of all, is what inspired you to be involved with the British Drum Company? That was from Kenneth Everett.
What inspired me, inspired is probably the wrong word, but I'll tell you kind of very briefly what happened. I played the Scottish Drum Fair, which is Davy Dowell up in Falkirk. He's got a drum shop up there, and every year he would arrange this big drum fair in Falkirk, in the local school, I think it was, and using the school hall and everything. And I actually, going just back one step, I actually played the Freddie G Academy, and one of the chaps there, Alan McFarlane, who lives in Falkirk, was present in my clinic thing, whatever, and went back and said, Davey, you need to get Ian from Kasabian to come up to Scotland and do one of your, a slot on your show. So that's what I did. I went to Scotland, I did a slot on Davey's show, which was fantastic. Davey puts us all in the same hotel. So all the drummers and all the exhibitors and everyone who's to do with the sorting out the show stay in the same hotel in Falkirk. And it's a great fun hotel because the bar stays open 24 hours. Scotland.
Yes.
So anyway, that was 2013. And what should actually happen was a certain Keith Keogh came up. He was working for Premier at the time. Premier had no inclusion in it, but you knew Dave Dowell, and he was just like man about town. He just wanted to come up, check out what was going on. He loves it. And after my clinic, which I just kind of like, I'm petrified of doing those things. I went back to the hotel bar, and the night included me meeting Keith. And I can tell you that me and Keith stayed up till 6 in the bloody morning chatting. We got on like immediately. Yeah, now, what's happened is I've gone back to Bristol. I've gone back on the road with Kasabian over time. I've stayed in contact with Keith. We've become really good mates. When I'm in Manchester, whether with Kasabian or I actually got tickets from my kids to go and watch One Direction at the Emirates. And I was like, I sort of dropped them off at the stadium with my missus, and then I went and I'd got a meal with Keith. Like, Keith, I'm in Manchester. And so there we go. I would go up and stay with him. We become genuine mates. Things went awry with Premier. He landed up on his ass. Al Murray, who was a good friend of his through having bespoke drums made through Premier directly with Keith, because of course Keith was the main designer and wizard there, was like, we got to keep you making shells, Keith. So let's do it. Let's make a company. Who we're going to get in the company? And they got a guy called Al to come in and do the metalwork stuff. They've got Stu Warmington in from the Marines to do the marching side. And apparently the first name to tumble from Keith's lips within minutes of this whole idea was that I should come in on the drum kit side. So I invited Keith unbeknowing one day to V Festival in Stafford. I said, come down with your mates, get pissed, and I'll see you there. And we're headlining. You just come in, roll in, VIP, do the whole thing, be free beers. It'd be great, mate. We'd love to see you, which we did. And after the gig, he was like, he had a few Dutch courage, and he showed me a badge of his new drum company. This is the badge he designed. And he said, this is my badge, doing it. And do you want to be involved? And I nearly fell backwards, but there we go. That's how I got involved with British Drum Company. It's truly like literally an organic mates situation with someone that I really do know and love and respect. And the guy is a bloody wizard when it comes to making drum shells. There's nothing you don't know about making drum shells and its recipes. And and the way that woods blend and bearing edges and all that kind of malarkey that goes on inside the magical drum shell.
Yeah.
And the guy bestowed that ultimate gift upon me, which I can't believe it. I'm a drummer and I'm doing that, and something I never thought of. So that's the story.
That's great.
Well, right place, right time again, isn't it? Really, and obviously, you know, you have been like the front, like face of like the BDC for a while now. Even so, that Joe Morris has got a picture of Ian's kit on her drum room wall next to Rob. What are you doing, Rob? What are you doing in her drum room?
I can't tell you.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. As I say, you know, fantastic coming. As I say, you know, Keith he's absolutely fantastic. So if you guys don't know about like the British Drum Company, there are other drum companies out there as well. But you know, it's just like one of the true, actually, like, you know, genuine British basically really like a drum company. Please go and watch them. Watch all the videos about them. Go and play them when you can. And there's so many series. There's so many great drummers now playing them. So, but as I say, there are other drum kits.
Say that.
A question, Ian. Just question. Mike has actually said, have you got some advantages as a left-handed playing right-handed?
I used to have massive advantage because I am a lefty, but I'm a right footer. So I just naturally slid into the right hand setup. And I got to a point where, yeah, my left hand can basically do anything that my right hand could do, kind of in a like speed wise and dynamic wise and stuff. Not that I could lead particularly to my left, although it's because I like doing that from time to time because it creates a different feel, you know, especially if I want a more naive feel, then it's great to sort of lead that way. I feel, you know, I've been asked when I've been doing some recordings to make it a bit more shonky, you know, try and make it sound like you can't play so well. So I do it that way. You know, it's an honest to God answer, you know, question that you get. But I fell over in 2010. Literally fell out. I chatted to a mate in the dark in Milan, going into a hotel after a gig, and I put both my feet into a step that I didn't see was there. Stupid idiot. And I had one of those day bags, you know, little like, you know, onboard bag, the handle. And because I was holding it, if I wasn't holding it, I would have just gone onto the floor like that. I ended up punching a marble floor with my left hand. And so now my hand is all out of, as opposed to being nice and normal, is all out of whack. And I've got no fulcrum anymore. There's nothing there. Skeleton hand. So I actually hold the drumstick from here now, not from here. So although I can play a little bit traditional these days, it really hurts because it's literally stick on bone. So it's made. I've got better at it over the years, but the trace of my stick used to be like lovely and up and down, but my left hand kind of does that now in the air. It's like really bad golf swing, you know. So my left hand has calmed down, you know, brought me back a lot. I've still got enough power and speed to maintain a career, and no one would ever bloody know, I guess. But
well, they do now.
Well, they do now.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing because I had a strong left hand, I have good technique. I've had some teachers over the years that I had when I was a kid, and that I've mined out as I've got older to answer different questions for me. And I guess because I had good technique to start with, and I'm strong lefty, that might have done me good. That might have kept my career. But it was touch and go, and I must admit I was extremely worried for a while in my life, you know. But
that's one thing that we actually do have to worry about, isn't it? That if anything does happen to our limbs, obviously there are like occasions where, you know, for instance, Rick Allen from Def Leppard, you know, obviously he had his arm, you know, seatbelt went through in a car crash. But there's adaptations that, you know, he's actually made.
But that was. I mean, I'm not really high up on Def Leppard, but from memory serves, pre-arm Def Leppard was like proper new wave British heavy metal, like uppity, like youthy, angsty music, which got to a certain place, but was fairly cold. and then post his arm, they slowed the whole thing down. It almost became like South, you know, sorry, you almost become like California, fucking arm out the car window, like, and they became massive.
They did, yeah.
Actually redirected not only his drumming, but it redirected the way the band wrote. And like, I mean, come on, Rob, you must remember those days. You couldn't move without that music being on the radio.
It was everywhere, yeah, everywhere. What was the album? Was it Paranoia? Was that the album?
Paranoia. But
yeah, it was massive stadium.
But when they were like, when it was all fucking going, I know those albums exist, and they were in collections of you know, we used to call them jitters in Bristol. That used to be jitter back in the day. You know, yeah, okay, they would exist, but the household name phenomena across the world came from that, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sometimes it can be a blessing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of highs. If you're still watching, Wes Warren. Jake Knapp, any chance of getting Taylor Hawkins over here soon? Love the Fools and love his drumming. Never say never. That's my motto. You never know. You never know. I've got some other ones. Anthony Sargent is watching. Hi Matt. Hi Rob. Hello. Matt Turner's watching. Who's this Ian chap? He said. Well, I don't know. We're finding out tonight, so we'll find out. There's a couple of really good questions which I want to just touch on for a second, because we're getting a lot of questions. It's like, Kay Shirley's like, hi Matt, do you have any rough ideas when PDC might be able to reopen for clinics, even with masks? I'll most probably need one by then, in the state of my hair. And distancing, seating plans kind of thing. And there's another one, are you considering live streaming for any of your drum clinics after lockdown is finished and we can all go back to some kind of normality? Now, it's... if I can just talk for a second, guys, if you don't mind, it's one of those things where you know, we love obviously what we do at the Palace Drum Clinic. Obviously, you guys love doing it because obviously you wouldn't be watching our, you know, giving all the questions. You wouldn't be supporting us in what we do. So during these kind of lockdowns, this is the reason why I've obviously got the little game show, the Palace, the PD Countdown, obviously the chat show. So we've actually come up. I've been speaking to my regulars, Rob and Pete, who obviously are the Palace Drum Camp tutors, and we've decided, because we don't know. The honest truth is we don't know when we can actually go live again. In physical, like, you know, in a room with people. I can tell you now, theatres are basically getting themselves ready for two scenarios: opening up in mid-September and opening up in November. They don't know, so basically, but they need 3 months in advance for each one. So obviously they're building themselves up September. If that doesn't happen, then obviously it's going to be November. If that doesn't happen, it may basically be end of theatre world for about 90%. So please, guys, please just stay indoors. Don't mess with anyone so we can actually get out gigging. But the other thing is, we've come up with a couple of other sort of things. We're planning to actually do like, because obviously it's very interactive, the Palace Drum Clinic. So we want to say that we're going to offer, and please FaceTime, so message me or drop us an email at info@palacedrumclinic.com. You know, we're actually going to like set up like maybe it's like a fortnightly kind of Zoom kind of 20 places. For an hour. I haven't worked out the price, but it's been £10-15 for an hour. And then you basically come in and we should have like a workshop masterclass with, you know, maybe it's like with myself, with Rob, if Ian's up for it, Pete, you know, all the people that connected with it. And if you're interested in that, guys, please send us a message, and you know, and I'll get back to you regarding that kind of stuff. And the other way is thinking about live streaming is that, yeah, if social distance is only allowed us to have a few people in the room, then maybe live streaming is the way forward, which means that obviously we can still do what we want to do, i.e. give you there's like, you know, the fantastic people that come through the doors like Ian, obviously, you know, so we've obviously been trying to get Todd Zuckerman over here, as if you've been watching a couple of weeks ago, we talked about that. So all those kind of people, you know, we can hopefully be able to do some kind of live stream where you guys can literally just dive in and out of it. So if you're interested in, obviously that's the live streaming, is like bit further down the line. But for now, if you're interested, just send us a message on Facebook or via the email info@palacedrumclinic.com if you want to be involved in these kind of like little workshop masterclasses. There's only going to be limited spaces for each one, so get in early. But please let us know your thoughts on it. Thanks very much for that, guys. Because obviously people have been asking, so I've been kind of trying to think what can we do to help help the situation we are in. And obviously it's going to be online stuff. So I've actually set myself up. I've got cameras. Like I've got three different angles and all kind of stuff on the kit. So it's quite a unique experience basically to do that stuff. So let us know your thoughts and any suggestions as well, please. So thank you very much. Back to normality now. That's what it is. So we've got other people. Keith Price watching. Basically, we've got some Dan Gresham. They're coming in now. Definitely up for it. Definitely brilliant. We've got some overseas players. Fantastic. I'm up for it. Yeah. So if you're up for it, guys, just send me a message because then obviously because these comments, I can read them out now. It's hard to sift through. So if you actually are up for it, please send me a message on the Facebook site or obviously email, and I'll get back to you straight away with timelines and all kind of stuff. So thank you very much for being being basically trying to involved. So going back to basically the whole thing is like having a chat about stuff after all that kind of stuff. Martin said, I was watching a drummer called Rob Brown last week who began playing right-handed but holding sticks traditionally style left-handed. Then he realised late in his career that he was doing it the wrong way and changed over. Well, it's I've always come to this realisation. It's like we all basically play one way because it's, I suppose,
it's perceived wisdom, isn't it? That's
wisdom.
What it is.
It's fashion as well, isn't it? It's that kind of thing. It's like Daryl Ringo. The reason he played that way because all the kits were set up that way.
Well, I mean, Rob plays traditional, don't you, Rob?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Virtually. And actually, when you were saying Ian a minute ago about when you're in a session, they say, can you play kind of unschooled? What I do is I go to match grip because instantly for me, that gives me, I've got to change the angle of the snare and it's just like, oh my God, but it gives me that feeling. So when you said that, I was like, I get that because I get the same thing. Because they say, don't they, it's a bit too clean. It sounds like you know it. Can you sound like a garage band drummer?
Unbelievably, sometimes when you're in a session situation, you have to unpick all that knowledge.
Exactly.
It's too good. It's like, what?
Here's one for you guys because Rob knows my playing quite well. Ian and I we've only met basically having a drink and chatting in drum shops. But I'm a very big.
That's all you need.
Well, exactly. But that's the beauty, I suppose, going back to why we're so friendly. Well, so because we hang out and it's like we enjoy each other's company. But I'm a very, very big traditional style player. But I teach match script. Do you guys teach the same way? And what is the reason for it?
I think that traditional grip is a beautiful thing, and it looks cool, but.
It does look like you know what you're doing, doesn't it? That's.
Yeah. I've got a pair of drumsticks here. Hang on a minute. Oh. You see this, right? That just looks sexy on a kit, a little jazz kit. It just looks amazing. I use this when I'm playing quarter, and then sometimes when I've done a Kasabian video, I've played like this because it looks really cool. However, in today's world, there's no reason why left and right should be any different, really. And I guess there's no reason why you should be able to play traditional the other way around, I guess. I don't know. I mean, technically, we should be able to play like that if you want to.
Yeah.
It's whatever works. But I do think this is beautiful, but this sets the drummer up for playing in one way. And that's lead with the right and follow with the left. And that is amazing in jazz because we got lots of ride cymbal doing the movement, and the left is comping and kind of like coming in behind, and then occasionally coming up and then going behind.
Whereas you say that, but there's a lot of great rock drummers who actually do play traditional style.
Oh, no, absolutely, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, yeah, absolutely, but so there's a time and a place for learning to do this. It's also a little bit of a kind of a screwy technique, I feel, as a teacher, to try and explain.
Don't you find,
particularly now I've got a buggered hand and I can't really.
well, yeah, don't you find it's like when you because if I'm like especially on my students know this on a Thursday just before, obviously I teach before we do the Parish Drum Clinic. I'm planning this way because obviously I'm warming up and everything else throughout the day, and it's like, say, what are you doing there? It's just, I was like, well, it's just, and then I try, and it's like they're holding it like this, and it's a very awkward way to actually teach to start with.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, so because I got taught that originally, it was like, when I was very, 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 very young. So obviously then it's obviously graduated into this kind of playing, but
surely
that way is so much of an easier and so much more adaptable than this.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I think there's discussions to be had with how we teach drums anyway, the crossing over as opposed to playing open and all these kind of other.
Yeah.
Why the hell do you put the bass drum on the right foot? All this stuff, all these questions that we ask. So at the top of the list surely is, why should we teach direction at the start? This is just pure, like, it's neutral.
Well,
and
funny you say that.
Like a drummer can play over this way is effectively as you can play over this way. So like nowadays, back in the 60s, drummers didn't really have like even a second snare. I mean, I think not Philly Phil, he was the other guy who just played like with a big smile hat.
Oh, Papa Joe Jones.
Papa Joe Jones, yeah, he had a floor tom. He did do a floor tom move to the left for a while, but that nowadays us drummers tend to have SPD things and electronic things and other stuff going on over here, which we need to juggle whilst we're doing other things over this side. Yeah. And so, and I'm not here to argue the effectiveness and the beauty of this technique, because I can see that it has. But this is something I think, I don't know, this match grip business allows a drummer to be able to operate machinery over here as easily as operating machinery over there. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. As you said, you give a child sticks and they won't grab it traditional grip. They'll hold it, Max says. But it's like, so because I've got two young children. It's like, and my oldest has been playing. I actually stuck him on my snare drum when I was actually playing. I didn't play him on the snare drum. I was playing a little bit in front of him.
Sure.
But it's like, so he's had the drums, and it's like he calls this like my drum kit. So okay, mate, it's yours. Okay. But he picks his sticks up and he's playing that way because obviously it's a knife and fork. So they pick up. So it's a tool, isn't it? So you pick up. So it's a match, it's more of a natural thing. We've actually got quite a people saying
there we go, hornet's nest.
We're going in the rabbit hole. Yeah, the rabbit hole of grips. Oh no.
We've actually got quite a few people actually say they would like to learn traditional.
Well, learn the traditional because traditional is power to your elbow, literally, because it's the most beautiful art form. It is a beautiful art form. If you want to play quietly on a drum kit, and you want to play dreamy, and you want to bring a ride cymbal out, and you want to play beautiful with your left hand, there's nothing better than that. There is something magical in that figure when you play. Rob, you know that.
Mark,
I agree. But to be honest, I must say I still trigger all my stuff with traditional grip when I gig. I'm a weirdo. I know I'm a rare beast. But even when I was playing with Susie, which is heavy punk stuff, I was still playing traditional grip with the SDDS, and I was still playing traditional. But that's just me. That is just me. And
to be honest, forget my hand. When I would play rock like that, it would just hurt. Actually, it just hurt right there. And so when I want to have it, when I'm gonna throw it at you. That works.
I agree. I think
stick at someone doesn't really work that way, does it?
I think it's just ways, isn't it, of playing. And when I teach matched. I've got to be honest, I do too. I teach matched. And if people say, "Can I learn traditional?" I go, "Yeah." But I know, as I say, the only way I'll ever go to matched is when people say on a gig or on a session on this, "Could you just suddenly give me that sound and I'll change?" So for me, I'm a bit of a weird one because I will always stay traditional, which doesn't go down well with some people. When I was with Susie, and a lot of people were like, "That's too jazzy, man. She's a punk act, you know. And I was like, well, I can get a loud crack out of this drum, you know. And they were like, yeah, no, fair enough. And they let me go with it.
Well, yeah, that's the punk ethic. I can get a load of crack at this drum. Really great. What's your dealer?
I just into Dave Cook has actually said traditional.
Right, you got the gig.
They're off. That's brilliant. Kevin Cook's actually said traditional.
Anyway, sorry about that. That was really bad.
It's all right. I just want to get Kevin's comment out. That's all right. No problem. Kevin Cook's basically saying traditional can be musical.
Anyway, that's moving on.
It's not just about technique. Yeah, I'm sorry about those guys. I don't know what.
Sorry, you're having a bit of a moment.
It's a West Country thing, I think. Something. Do you know what? I'll talk to you guys while they're sorting themselves out. Obviously, thank you very much. Who actually sort of said that you want to be in part of these like little online like PD Palace Drum Clinic workshops. Maybe we can actually do one. And if you're interested, it's like if you are a match grip player, or even if you are a traditional grip, basically it's like come in because I'm very sort of. I've been playing so long and I've had so many great teachers in that way, and my left hand, some people actually think I'm left-handed for some strange reason.
I tell you, while we're still on this conversation, Matt, I actually as a kid, my first teacher taught me to play matched,
right?
With drumstick, but when he taught me to play brushes, he taught me to play brushes in traditional grip.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's an interesting.
And it makes
the brushes thing. Your elbow sticks up in the air when you try and do stuff. And I say, it's horses for courses. Like obviously, it's tradition. It's like it's fashion, and all that kind of stuff. The reason why it's just like this became unpopular because of this. It was basically two people, basically back in the early '60s, was Ringo and Dave Clark, because they played this way. A lot of people playing that, so I went back. But I saw basically it's like the back end of the '90s, going into noughties. This became a little bit more fashionable again. Did you guys actually see that? It's like it came back for some reason. So
Steve White did it a lot. You see, with Paul Webb. And people went, "That's really cool." And do you know what? Just on that point, it's funny because there's pictures of Ian Pace in the '70s playing, with his top off, thin as a rake, playing his snare drum, his 402, with traditional grip. And yet when he's with the Purples, and he's playing, it's match grip. But when he's practicing in all these shots, he's always got traditional grip. It's like kind of weird, man, but kind of cool, because he used to bring the thunder, I suppose,
it's a means to an end. It's technique is a means to an end. But I think it's a beautiful aesthetic, most certainly, to have. And I think every serious drummer needs to have it in the armory.
Well,
I think.
Because
it's the same as heel up, heel down. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah. The thing is, if we just go back a couple of weeks to the chat show, and we had Gabor Dornay. Now, if anyone's seen his, he basically plays matched. He plays matched. He played traditional. He plays matched. He played traditional. He's got it absolutely sorted in both hands and whatever. He also plays that, he's got all the technique down for all of it. And I do believe, I think Steve Smith is actually quite an advocate for this, that you should know all of the techniques that's basically used. So whether it's like French, German, traditional, American, all kind of stuff, because they all give a certain aspect and a certain sound to the actual playing. I think there's a lot of people actually. I think are missing out because they can't, just basically play one way. If you can play other way, you've got the choices. It's like if you basically go into a sweet shop and there's only one sweetie basically selection. It's like that is the only strawberry bonbon. That is it in the shop. You're going to get that strawberry bonbon. But if there's hundreds of them, you're going to basically choose, aren't you? So it's that kind of thing. So so. Just open yourself up. I love this way. I play this way for all the time. But when I do my classical stuff, apart from snare drum now, it has to be this way.
Well, glocks and xylophones and timpani.
All that kind of stuff. The timpani. I actually switched between French and actually German.
Yeah, but the only reason this whole bloody thing came about was because a 14-year-old boy with a bloody drum around his neck, marching with a bloody tricorn on his head into a battlefield, ain't gonna want to do that.
Exactly.
No, exactly. He's going to do that. That's, and in fact, they probably were doing that, to be honest, to start with.
Yeah. Yeah,
That was probably the original drumstick kind of like thing, probably.
Yeah.
With that,
Well,
and that's where it's from. Is the angle. That's what it's about.
It's always, well, marching drum.
It's gone from field to orchestra to like one day William Ludwig invented this kind of like thing with an axle on it with a spring and the bass drum, you know, the actual like first metal proper bass drum beater. And so they were on their bass drum beaters in the Louisiana in bloody weather, and they were like and off they went, you know. And I think that's got a lot of it. I don't know, Rob, do you know what I mean? I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And people just took it on, and the evolution of it, people just kept doing it because it was perceived that was the way. And a snare drum like this, you know, and all that. Not that I would know what that's like. Yeah.
This is like that, mate.
I'm always, all right.
Snare drum like that, mate.
The Rob Ryan angle like this.
Yeah, it's half a mile between these snare drums.
Got my snare drum, mate.
It's got me cracking it. No.
No more cracking.
But just, you know, just to answer some of the people's comments and stuff like that. Gaynor basically put, so determined to learn it, but may not suit metal drumming. Well, the thing is, as I say, you don't know until you actually saw it, because there might be a situation where you actually might need it in the metal drum. It might give you something extra than basically match grip. But, you know, it's to say it's...
Well, the thing is with metal drumming, anything happens in metal drumming. I mean, there's an awful lot of like heavy hitting in like stuff going on, very angular playing.
Yeah.
Strike me, a lot of, you know, but at the same time, you know, within there, you know, you get all these kind of like other things that happen, like traditional marching sections or whatever, because that, you know, the guitarist wants to do something really kind of like deep and like windswept. So you might like break out some like military drumming sort of vibes. And so you might want to get one of these guys going like, you know, his hair's going, you know, and so you never know. As you say, you don't know. And also metal drumming might be the thing that's floating your boat right now, but then something might happen. You might make a friend, or you might get an offer to come and do something else, which isn't your metal drumming. And suddenly you're confronted with a new challenge. And maybe it might be something more jazz or more at least a more gentle music form for you to kind of get your head around, and suddenly being able to use that might enable you to do that more effectively. I don't know, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, that's to say, there's a lot of comments of this, like Thomas Lang, Thunderbush player, traditional grip. There's one actually I spoke to Rob last week at the after show party in the green room. It was about a guy that you've never heard of, so Yoni Madar, I think that's how you say it. Have you seen some of his clips this week, Rob?
Yeah,
he's incredible. Now, technique-wise, he basically seems to understand every single kind of concept there is, and he's got quite a few of his own as well. Because it's like, you know, who's to say? He's got this one thing actually. He's like, it's got like a very fast single strokes, but he actually plays it this way. So he's going. It's absolutely incredible. You know, he's just like developing stuff. Have a look at it, guys. It's YONIMADAR. Not quite far. I think it's like towards the sort of Middle East or so. It's like down southwest Europe or something like that. I'll get in touch with him and see if we can actually maybe come on here.
But that's the beautiful thing, Matt. Why shouldn't someone do a snare drum solo with sticks like that? It looks incredible.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
You can do all the moves. You can do it. You know, everything. All the facilities there to do it.
Yeah, if it works, you know, why not?
Absolutely.
And also, the amazing thing about this technique is a psychology as well. Because with match grip or either what we call match grip in any case in either hand, it's a closed fist, and it's attention backwards into you. Whereas when you're playing with the traditional grip, it's an open hand. It's a forward motion. So actually, it makes sense for someone to play like that because you are giving the music out as opposed to taking the music back in. I don't know. It's going to be like a general, I don't know, philosophy there, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just went completely
in the music,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Normal service will be resumed in a minute.
Don't play jazz wrong, Rob.
Yeah, so Joe Morrison said that's why drums are amazing. They talk a lot of different languages. They do. So Hugo Loudon so I say, how comfortable are the panel on soloing? Would you show chops off or perhaps solo a creative panel patterns? Well, Rob, I'll come to you because you played for 27 minutes in the first time you came to PDC. You wanted to stop me, mate, didn't I? But I will say something. It didn't feel like 27 minutes because you basically were going off in different tangents, and it was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, again, drum soloing, it's a very subjective thing. You can have some people that just go for speed, flat out for hours. People go, that's amazing. Then you get someone trying to tell a story and people go, that's boring. There's not. So you're not going to win with everybody. But the most important thing is don't play to the people, play for yourself. You know, find meaning, find the voice within you. Meaning, if you can use the technique and do a more phrased solo that kind of, which is the kind of thing I like, which moves and bends and has this different dynamics and maybe repeating phrases, maybe a bit faster or in fives rather than four or whatever. But you start to weave something that, because basically, I mean, I love Buddy Rich and I love that kind of speed thing. But within that, within his phrasing, within the speed, there is phrasing and there is melody and there is stuff in there if you dare to look. And anyone, it's just Bonham's the same. I'm talking about very old school drummers here, but because when I was learning to solo, I listened to them because they were telling stories. I remember Ian Pace said, "You've got to tell a story, beginning, middle, and end with dynamics. There's got to be some like whoa moments and some introverted moments." And then getting to jazz drummers like Max Roach, for me, it was kind of bringing it all together and saying, "Yes, this is the kind of pattern that I like." Now, for another guy, it could be a completely different story. You know, for another drummer, it could be, as I say, the speed story. I'll play this single stroke with my hands, then my feet, then my hands, then the feet on the cymbals, and you know, and that's cool too. But it's about finding your own voice, I think, and finding what really floats your boat. And if it's the pattern thing, then explore it. I was saying to someone just this week on a sort of Zoom call with. He said, "Can I just chat to you for an hour?" I was like, "Yeah." And we were talking about this, and it was just like try and rinse ideas till there's no more to get out of them. So, for instance, if you think, right, I've got that phrase, but now I'm searching for the next thing I need to do. Well maybe play it open-handed, cross-handed, play it on different drums, play it on, you know, an open, closed hi-hat with a ride. You know, try and rinse one idea as far as you can. Play it on your feet to your hands or whatever. Don't just think, right, I've learned that, now I need to go and do something else. And I think you start to develop a vocabulary, a way of the way you develop your phrases, and it becomes very musical. And that's personally what I did. And I kind of tried to say, right, if I've got one idea, I need to see it in 10 different ways, not just one. That's just not it. Now I've learned that phrase, I need to break it down. Yeah. But it's highly subjective, and Ian and Matt will give you a different story as well probably on it, but that's how I feel about it. And I listened a lot to like Frank Sinatra's phrasing, I listened a lot to John Coltrane, Jimi Hendrix, you know, Richie Blackmore, you know, I listened to people, not just drummers, I listened to how soloists soloed, you know, and thought, how can I take those ideas? So that's how I got the idea of repeated phrases and so on. So, you know, I think you should just sit down in a room, record yourself playing and see what starts to come when you sit down with yourself with a tape recorder or whatever. Tape recorder. What year am I living in? No one's got a tape recorder.
1986.
Yeah, if you've got a reel-to-reel, an 8-track cartridge.
Put the acetate on.
Yeah, put the acetate on. Yeah.
Rob, actually, Anthony Sargent's put Mark Giuliano basically talks about motives and repeating them in different ways from soloing.
Well, so does old Riley, isn't it? In the jazz, you know, the bebop book, you know, he talks about that. I think it's context, as well as everything what Rob said is utterly correct, utterly true. I mean, that I completely agree. But there's also a context issue as well. I mean, if I'm like playing in a kind of a more of a show band situation, and you know, I've got like our Sharon and our Trace up there, you know, playing something that he knows, you know. And I got that moment where I got to play a bit of a drum solo, like, you know, well, off we go. I'm going to give you basically my version of the Safaris thing, you know. I'm going to give you that I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep the straight 8th, 16th note thing going. I'm going to keep the dance floor rocking on, and I'm going to try and boil it up to a point where I might bring some cymbals in, and maybe it's a snare. round hopefully a band that are still bloody interested and not buggered off to get a pint, and then we come back in. Also, like at the same time, if I'm doing a jazz gig and I'm playing some kind of like beautiful, I don't know, like beautiful jazz thing, and I will maybe start listening, thinking to myself about the head. I might even go off from there, and I might start thinking about a counter melody of some I don't know, anything. All sorts of weird stuff jumps into my mind when I've been doing like jazz solos with jazz bands, because I got the kit that I'm playing with the show band or whatever will tend to probably be bigger drums with a lower tuning. Whereas when I'm playing a jazz gig with my mates, then I'm going to probably be using smaller drums with a higher tuning. So I've got much more like melodic, bonky thing going on. So I can start to bring out different rhythms. And I've also got a seated audience who are looking to like soak in my intellect and like love it and all that shit, you know. So then I can, yeah, exactly what Rob was saying. Then I can like balance between the techniques that I've got to my disposal, my understandings, all the years of experience, within the context of the tune, whether it be in a 3 or a 4 in a certain tempo, and then I can start either playing over the head, or I can counterpoint that and maybe go off into my own direction. Do I keep time? I could keep time, or I could break the time down and start slowing it down, or just go into free flow. But if I'm in free flow, I've got to arrange myself in a beautiful way so I can pick all the time up again, pick all the notes up from the floor that I've thrown around and gather them back up to bring my band back in. Or if I'm doing some, not that Kasabian allowed me to do, stadium style, you know, those kind of drum solos where I kind of go, la, 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 you know, that kind of thing. But if I was to do that, then in the stadium rock style, I could do the double bass drum, dead stop, and have everyone go, and then count my band back in again. So you got these different things. When it comes to soloing from the drum clinic point of view, it's just like bloody scary. And that's the hardest thing I've ever discovered really about my playing, is going from 0 to 60 from a standing start. Because the one thing about context is you've got a musical context. You've been playing with your band for the night or for an hour or whatever, and you're into the moment, into the music, the crowd are with you, and that becomes a different sort of thing, if you see what I mean. Back to Gainer's grade 8 situation, you know, you kind of like got the heat on. But just what Rob was saying, exactly what Rob was saying, you know, find, you know, yeah, he's got to come from within. And I'm just adding a contextual element to what Rob was saying. That was all.
I think the only thing I can basically add on to that is there's most probably certain things that we've all worked out, and then all of a sudden you find yourself doing it when you actually come to a solo. I can remember I was doing it, I recorded it actually, it's online. I called it my Opus 4. I don't know what I called it, but I just basically had 4 notes, ba 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 boom, that kind of thing. And then I wanted to see how far I could basically push those 4 notes. And so it was, but 8 minutes later I came back and finished ba 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 boom, where I started again. And it's like, it's a journey, you know. It's like where can you go? Where you can basically just like, you know, go to like, you know, can I go around this way? Oh, I can go actually. I've just found I can just go off a tangent and have a detour, then coming back onto track kind of thing. So it's that kind of things where if you're going to practice, like, you know, if you think you got sort of solos coming up, practice things, but don't think about doing them. They organically just basically just start to happen, and you think, oh, great. Well, and then because you know them, your brain's got time to think, okay, can I develop this, or should I just carry on doing sort of down this pathway? You know, it's the sat nav. I found a faster route. Well, I'm quite enjoying this road at the moment. It's giving me a bit more time. You know, so it all depends. Fun fact, hashtag fun fact from Anthony. Rob's cymbal grabs, sorry, big one. Grabs are almost as good as Sugarfoot level. There we go. That's quite a good one.
I grabbed a saucepan's around here as well. There you go. How about that?
Bless him, he's let himself down. But no, it's fantastic. Gaynor, again, fascinated with military snare stuff. Do you think it helps general playing? It helps my playing, knowing it's like my rudiments and everything else, because I know what I'm playing. So if I have to, like, you know, in the studio environment, you're doing something, they go, like that, what did you do? You go, oh, play it back. Oh yeah, I did that, and you knew exactly. You know, I knew exactly what I was playing, so then I could basically just regurgitate because they like that particular.
I would say to Gaynor, as a direct piece of advice to Gaynor, is buy or eke out online military drumming pieces. You can buy books, DCI books, and this and that, you know, with like put up solos. There are varying degrees of difficulty. Some bloody insane. You've got to be in the Blue Devils to get your head around it, but you know, or the Marines. But you know, get hold of these ideas. You can get like, what's it called? 3 Camps. What's the big tune that's
there's two. One is Charlie Wilcoxon. Charlie Wilcoxon. Yeah, Charlie Wilcoxon. He's got 2. I think everyone should have.
There's the guy called Pratt. He's got his books out, and there's whatever. Play them on the snare drum.
Yeah.
And then what the interesting thing about these pieces are, I mean, you can obviously, as a practicing drummer, you want to be able to play them through at tempo all the way through perfectly. But however, you know, there's a sideline to this. You know, you can take them bit by bit and take the most effective parts. Every time you see an accent in these pieces, put your bass drum in under your snare drum. And then if you can take them apart, you put your bass drum, you put the accent with the bass drum, and then from that point, you've kind of got your bass drum coming down with your snare drum on the accent. You can play them on a matching tom from your left to your right, or you can play them on a crash cymbal, or you can put the whole thing onto a pair of hi-hats. And so you can define an accent as being an open hi-hat with the bass drum. And then you'll suddenly discover that you can put a 2 in the 4 backbeat with your right hand as if you're doing a disco beat, but you're playing this military part with these kick drums coming in with these open hi-hats. And honestly, it will open your playing up like a flower that a million textbooks could not do in a lifetime. And that's just basically taking naked rhythm, which is designed for snare drum, which is actually in the first place fairly technical for snare drum. But you can allow that to blossom around a drum kit, and my God, it's a minefield of ideas and days and days of amazing practice. That it might be ideas and concepts that you never bring to the actual stand when you're playing with others, but things will happen. And in fact, one of the most beautiful moments when that concept was used was at the Buddy Rich tribute concert with Steve Gadd and Vinnie Collier and Dave Weckl. Dave Weckl went off. Like you basically got a bottle of champagne and shook it for hours and let the thing off. It's like, what are you going to do about that? And then Steve Gadd just sat there and just played Crazy Army like he did when he was in the army, with his bass drum kicking in the accents. And after a while, he let himself loosen a little bit as he loosened in. And Vinny over there going, well, great, I'm going to go in between the two of you. But that was a beautiful moment when that was used. And honestly, even if it's just the Buddy Rich book and you've got those back pages where in the last section where you've got the accent ideas, and you put your kick drum under the accents, put your toms or your cymbals or your, as I said, the open hi-hats, bring in a backbeat. My God, therein lies a lifetime's worth of study.
Absolutely.
Again, the two books, as I say, the one that Ian recommended, obviously, is the Charlie Wilcoxon. It's the Advanced Study for the Swing Drummer. That's the harder one, but obviously also get the All American 150 solos. They're actually slightly easier because they're smaller chunks, and basically they get gradually complex throughout the book. The 150. So the two ones. So I've studied the Charlie Wilcoxon all the time, and you know, actually, I for my postgraduate recital, actually incorporated Charlie Wilcoxon studies, orchestral excerpts, and stick trickery, and it went down an absolute storm because they're all based on the same thing. The only thing I will say is sometimes with the if I can just quickly demonstrate with the Wilcoxon, I actually took this to Jim Chapin because he knew Charlie, and it was that kind of thing where I got taught it very kind of I just go to the 3 camps you mentioned that kind of thing. It's very, very military-esque, but if you open it up a little bit, and I'm going to swap here now but all that kind of stuff, it starts to flow a little bit more. So with those, take these like the actual, I suppose, the rhythmic concept a little bit with a pinch of salt, open it up a little bit more, and then what Ian was saying, it's like then you can start pumping stuff into it. But Charlie Wilcoxon, advanced study for the swing drummer and the All American 150 solos. Excuse the playing, but there we are. But yeah, so it's that. It's absolutely fantastic. Talking about that subject, we've got a couple of questions. First of all, was fans of Manu Cachet? Well, I was growing up.
Oh.
So yeah, still.
I got a video when I bought a Zildjian cymbal many years ago from the drum store.
I've got the same one. I've got the same one
with Ian Croft, and you got Manu Cachet on his blue Yamaha.
Yeah,
yeah,
it really was.
And
yeah,
he got this flexible 8 inches, the 14 inches, and it just does that. And I remember it, and it was fucking brilliant. And actually, I met Manu Cachet many years later with Kasabian, because actually he gave up drumming and he became a chat show host. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wondered what it was about.
Got massive shows like Jules Holland, but France's version of Jules Holland. Well, kind of more like Jonathan Ross, maybe. And we were on it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, what a drummer! Oh my god, he's one of. See, this is the thing. This is one of the biggest issues with drumming that I have. There is all the techniques under the sun, and people who are amazing exponents of various things that you can do. You can cut your body in two and do this and that and everything else, which is amazing. And some people cut a career from showing drummers how to do that, and it's brilliant. And sometimes they have great careers in the actual music biz too. But there are some people who have ample techniques, more techniques than most of us have probably. They've forgotten more than most of us know, but at the end of the day, they've learned all they need. But they are poets, and it's a massive difference. It's like yeah, I don't know how to say it other than there's technical prowess, there's understanding and power and being like that. But there's also some people who just can say the right thing. Gift of the gab. That's a gift of the gab. They could sell sand to the Arabs, as they say, as a drummer musically. And some people, it's like some people have a radio voice, some people are photogenic. Some people are able to play a drum kit. Some people are able to write words down on like John Lennon, for instance, was able to write words in sequence down on a piece of paper and make your heart melt. He probably did quietly study songwriting and poetry and Shakespeare and understand, the flow of words, but somewhere in his soul, he just understood the flow and is a poet. And I think there are drummers in this world who are like that. Neil Wilkinson's one of those guys. Neil Wilkinson's a guy who's just a bloody poet. Ash Stone is a poet. Ash Stone is a true poet. And Manu Cachet is one of those guys. He's a bloody poet. Yes, he could paradiddle you under the floor probably, but he probably isn't the kind of geezer who could do 17-14 with his feet whilst entertaining a 5/8 with the right hand and whatever in the left. And there these Jim Keltner's another one of these. Bernard Purdy, give a shit. 4/4. That's it, mate. That's what you got, mate. Probably a wall still. He'll deal with a wall. He'll do a nice 12/8 for you. But damn well that 12/8 or that 4/4 is just going to be party on a drum kit. You are going to be a singer, and if you got Bernard on your track, you are going to fly. And I doubt if Bernard really gives a shit about a paradiddle, to be fair. But that doesn't make him a lesser drummer. That makes him more the poet. And and that I think that's another thing that drummers don't like talking about. That they love watching technical mastering wizardry because it's I suppose at least you can define it. You can define it in practice and IQ and stuff, but poetry is something that I don't even think you can earn that. That's within your soul.
It's your own personal sound, isn't it? It's like, what do you curate, I suppose, at the end of the day. Tom Jokes is watching. Hey chaps, hope you're all safe. Gaynor, that's brilliant. Thank you. That's what I need is to get stuck dots to find him so hard. You made my night. Well, I'm glad we made somebody's night. Gaynor, please keep in touch. Message me of what's the words? Email. Forgot what it was now. Email us. We'll keep in touch and and we'll get some workshops done for you as well. Hi Darren. It's a bit of a strange one. Martin Ollie is basically saying, sorry to diverse. I would say we've only got a few minutes left, but sorry to diverse. But for the last 3 weeks, I've been itching to know what the memorabilia is on Rob's shelf unit behind him. So, Rob, can you, in about 30 seconds, what's behind you, buddy?
Well, I've got various Beatle memorabilia. I've got various pop figures and some print stuff. Captain Scarlet, Mystery Science Theatre, X-Files, Equalizer box. It's all my box sets of geeky stuff. I'm a geek, right? So it's got that stuff. And there's some 60s Batmobiles and stuff, There's loads of stuff up there. If we've got more time one day, I'll take the laptop over there and I'll show you. But I'm a bit of a geek. I like collecting things. Yeah, I'm not. My wife calls it my geek sin.
What's that? What's the poster behind you? Is that the Buddy Rich poster?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a classic. That is an awesome poster.
And Matt and Gary Alcock sorted that out for me when I played the drum fair, and I was like, "Please, can I have that poster?"
Yeah, we sorted it out. We got it all done for you. I won't tell you what
framed,
but yeah. Oh, so Hugo Loudon basically said Ian's comment about poetry and drumming must be a Brian Blade. What a drummer he is.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, chuck him in. I'd totally chuck him in the poet
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. One of those boys.
As I say, we've only got a few minutes left, guys. Thank you very much. To say it's been actually a fantastic evening again. When don't we have a fantastic evening at the Palace Drum Clinic? Anyway, as I say, if you're not already liking the Facebook, please like it, and also the Palace Drumming Club as well. Go on there. Basically, it's all interactive. You see what's happening. We keep up to date with everything. If you're watching on replay, #replay. I suppose it's just basically since we've only got about 8 minutes or so left, because I say 10 o'clock, because obviously we're getting ready for football coming back, and obviously match of day will be on 25 past 10. So we're making sure it's 10 o'clock so people can have a refreshing for that. But the funniest disaster on stage, and that was actually from Hugo. So I've got one, but I'll leave mine to later. But Rob, what was your funniest moment on stage with the drum kit?
With the drum kit, I was going to say. I've got many
drums on stage. Yeah.
Oh, with the drum kit, funny story.
Hi, Dave Hunt. Dave's watching.
Hi, Dave. Well, I've got funnier stories that are around getting to the drum kit.
Go on then, quickly.
Can I tell the story?
Quickly, come on.
Right, okay. So I was playing, where was it? Thankfully, it wasn't a huge gig. It was in Bath. It was at the Chapel Arts Centre, which I know you played in a few times. And I was playing with Emma Hutchinson. And to get to the stage, you have to walk through the audience. And this is a really, maybe I shouldn't tell this story. But anyway, I've been
after the watershed. We're okay. It's fine.
I've been to the bathroom.
Washed your hands, hopefully.
And anyway, for some bizarre reason, I seem to get a massive amount of toilet paper trailing after me like a tail. So I know it's a bit weird. I can't remember actually what happened in the area, but walking through the stage, through the punters, I had this tail of toilet paper, right? And I didn't know it was there. It was bizarre. I mean, whether the band set me up, I've got no idea. So anyway, so we do the gig and we're playing, and at the end of it, she says, "I'm Rob Brown job." So I stand up, do the obligatory stand up, and I do the bow, and I look down, and I can see this trail of toilet paper right behind my toilet seat. My drum stool, and they set me up, and that was probably the most embarrassing thing, because I'm too OCD. I mean, even with text, I'm still going around tightening everything, so I try and make sure everything's always all right. So that's probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever done on the drum kit, because I knew the whole audience had seen this trail of toilet paper. And I was completely spammed. It was like a spam-tastic moment. So
Beautiful.
that's got to be my most embarrassing, I think.
Okay, Ian, come on.
I don't get away with this, do I? I don't know.
No,
I think
no, you have to answer the question. So there we are.
probably I've put most of them out of my mind, but
Apart from
yeah.
obviously this one.
I don't know. I mean, one of the tragic ones was I did a cruise ship gig with Jamie Cullum years ago, when he was a young sprightly chap straight out of university, just getting signed up, and we went down the Bay of Biscay, and we had 3 days of Bay of Biscay on a flat bottom boat, which wasn't designed for the Atlantic. It was actually designed for, you know, Mediterranean cruising and stuff, and it was the classic, you know, literally that. And so sat at the drum kit, literally it'd be like, you know, like, there we go, the right cymbal. That's the rack tom gone. That's like that. Literally, whoa.
The Bay of Biscay is killer. Yeah.
I think I've had a couple of bar fights happen in front of me. I had a steak in, well, I think it was a steak and kidney pie thrown at me, which went whizzled past my ear and stuck to the wall behind me for the rest of the gig.
Brilliant.
And having been done the Kasabian thing over the years, when we've played more hostile festival crowds that have not maybe known us so well in various parts of the world, I can remember, because I get in-ears and my in-ears are plugged into the back of my stool, because I don't like having a pack on. And anyway, packs give it a bit of like that kind of frequency compression, and you're better off being hardwired. So there's just like the little thing is just gaffered to the back of my stool. Yeah. So I can't go anywhere. I can't like do anything. I can't run around. You know, I'm kind of in-ears. I've got the thing that's going down my back. It's in. And it was the Big Day Out Festival in Australia, and usually I'm quite far back, you know, in festival stages and stuff. But these Australian jocks had decided that they'd hound me in. They knew how far it was to get me with stuff. I can't remember what they'd thrown at me. Maybe it's plastic bottles. I think it was, and other shit that they might have had. And because usually the front row get anything thrown, you know. But they dogged me in, those fuckers, and I spent an entire gig like having to play. I can't move anywhere. I can't even like scupper. Just kind of like, here it goes. Yeah, buggers. I don't know why people do that. I don't know why.
Why?
Well, yeah, why? Hi. Well, Gabor's just joined us. We talked about you earlier, mate, buddy. Gabor,
Gabor.
Yeah, thanks so much. Joe Morris says, thanks, guys. Love it. We'd love to see Kasabian live. Dave Brown actually is basically. He said he still clapped one time halfway through his first set. Well, my most embarrassing one, because I'm a bit like Rob, I'm a bit like I have to make sure everything's plugged in. It's like, you know, sitting on everything's like, you know, everything. But I was actually with a band in Norway, and it was hired gear, as it's like mostly, unfortunately, some does. And I actually started the second half off. So I was sitting there, I was basically playing, and for some reason, the actual cameras actually recorded the whole gig. They zoomed in on me when I was basically playing to the start of this, you know, bringing everyone back in. And I was playing a little number, and all of a sudden you see me go, it's like, what's going on? What is going on? And then I've just looked down, and I'm on the centre post, just about on the stool. And that, so I'm balancing, obviously, it's like playing, it's like, you know, so my feet are going 9 to 12, and it's like, what's going, oh, don't look down, you know, don't look down moment. So I'm walking around, so I said to one of the slides, like, help. So I said, what's wrong? So, still, all right. So the only thing that was close was this massive chair. So they dragged this massive chair on, and I was still playing, and they forgot about recording everyone else. They just recorded what I was doing. So I was there. I stood up without missing a beat, because I don't know how I did it, and then they swapped over this massive chair with arms on. I was literally playing the rest of the number that until I actually got to sort the stall out. That was quite embarrassing.
I mean, I literally, actually, to be fair, what you've just said, actually, I've never ever played drums on a throne, but I would love to have a proper throne.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Proper fucking, like,
But that was, but my most embarrassing. I just remembered it actually. It was in the back garden of Johnny Dankworth and Cleo Lane's garden. Was actually playing there at a gig, and I was. If anyone's been there, it's got basically like it's just like a canopy. So it's set up for, it's a secure canopy. It's there all year round. And they've got like a couple of hundred chairs in there with a stage, and on every back of the chair is basically someone who's donated that chair. I just had a look once, like Jim Marshall, it's loads of like all the famous people, so like they've donated chairs. That's in and Cleo actually at the time it was after Johnny died, unfortunately. Cleo basically sits in a conservatory and watches the gigs. It's brilliant. This bit time, it's the number they got down was like they were playing like an Irish jig, and they wanted me to start playing my Irish bronze. So I said, it's great, but would you mind if I sat at the front of the stage, because obviously my gear was at the back, because you won't hear me. It just looks like I'm just doing this at the back, which is not really.
Don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, so rehearsal's great. I was like, okay, there's a couple of wires that I need to step over, and then I sat on the front. It's like little slabs at the front. It looks nice, and there's like a little about 2 foot down. This is like the slope of the grass basically goes into the seats. So fine. During the actual gig, pick my bron up, lovely bronze. Right, watch that whoosh. Yeah, stepped on the front of these slabs. One of them was loose, and it basically tilted up, and I actually fell off the front of the stage, slid halfway down that little bank, finished cross-legged, didn't miss a beat. Right in front of Cleo. So after the gig, we was in Cleo's conservatory. Are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine. But you need to get that fixed, because if some of this, like the old boys come in, they might have broken a hip or something.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So that's most embarrassing. So, guys, thank you. Oh, George Kerr's watching. Thank you for Peter James. Say hi to Rob and Ian from me. I just have done. So everyone who's basically been passing the messages, thank you ever so much. There isn't time to. I've just written something down, which was a comment earlier. Isn't jazz drumming the hardest genre? Someone said define hardest. It may be one we can talk about another time on the.
Define hardest, my friend. I have no clue what. Me looking at like Latin drumming is like looking at tunes of fucking, I don't know, what the fuck's this? Hello?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know it's got like laws and rules that you behold, and it doesn't change, but it does change all the time. Yeah. And it's like African drumming. Hello, what's this? Yeah. It's like Jesus. Define. You are Rob. Sorry, Matt. What that guy just said.
Yeah,
is exactly that.
That might be one for us to talk about another time, but I say we've run out of time, unfortunately, guys. Everyone's saying thanks ever so much, and they've obviously put their own messages on there about their embarrassing times. So there's more, but I just didn't have it in the front of my mind. But I mean, this is what it's all about. It's very, very, very chill.
Put it this way, I've earned my money over the years.
He's earned money over the years. Yeah.
I've earned those pounds over the years.
But thank you ever so much, guys. Thanks again.
Every last one of them, Jesus.
Thanks again to the Chuckle Brothers, Ian and Rob. We'll see Rob next week. Thanks again, Ian, for joining us and having a giggle. It's been absolutely brilliant. But we'd just like to say, obviously, if you are following us, please like the page on the Paddock Scrum, on the Facebook page on the Paddock Drum Clinic, because you get to find out what's actually happening with this kind of stuff, and obviously what's going on with the workshops and everything else. So if you haven't already, please message me or email me if you want to be involved in those workshops coming up shortly, and obviously get into Guildhouse. Gordon, thanks very much. Thanks, guys. Listening next week. Thank you very much for reminding me.
Bye, guys.
Next week on the PD Chat Show is none other than multi-award-winning multi-percussionist Pete Lockett. But that will be starting at 8 o'clock next week, not 8:30. So Pete Lockett next week on the PD Chat Show live at 8 o'clock. not 8:30. So again, just like to say thank you very much from Rob and our special guest and great all-round bloke, Ian Matthews. So it just basically says thanks very much, guys. Please stay safe. Because we need to get out and go in, so basically, so do these gigs and these clinics and everything else. So the better we basically keep ourselves safe, the quicker we can get out there. So thanks so much, guys. It's basically thank you very much from them, and it's good night from us all. So thank you and stay safe, and we'll see you next week with Pete Lockett at 8 o'clock. Take care, guys. Bye bye.